Hey Kentucky, this is Deidre Ransdell. Tonight, UK basketball's future looks bright with another big commitment. GOP leaders try to shut down Andy Brashear's hopes of gambling in the Bluegrass, and Drew Franklin previews UK Georgia. All that and more is next on Hey Kentucky. Welcome to Hey Kentucky, presented by Wendy's. I'm Deidre Ransdell, in for Mary Jo Perino this evening. And UK legend Jack "Goose" Givens is my co-host tonight. Jack, good to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
I'm excited. I haven't gotten to work with you
No,
yet.
this is the first time for us. So
I'm very excited.
Good night. Yeah.
It'll be good. All right. Well, we begin with the big news for the UK basketball future. Last night, the number 10 prospect in the 2021 class announced his commitment to the University of Kentucky over Louisville, Memphis, and Arizona to be exact, among 16 total scholarship offers. Five-star guard Devin Askren is a 6'3" combo guard out of California, and here's what he had to say about Coach Cal's program before announcing his decision.
Kentucky's a place where they're also going to develop you, and you leave when you're ready, and you know what your goal is. It's obviously to win games in college, but the personal side, put your name out there and get you to the next step that all the players want. Like when you're on that type of team, it's like the goal is we're all five getting out. Like, let's go chase our dreams. And we're all together, and it feels like a brotherhood. So that's what I love about it. And Coach Cal's a great guy. He knows what he's doing.
And as we mentioned last night, we'll likely have to wait until the spring to find out if Askew will reclassify to the 2020 season. But Jack, this is a commitment that we're going to take whenever he gets here, right?
Yeah, I feel real good about this one. He's 6'3", but he's kind of thick, so you could put him down low, play him on the low post, but I really like the way this guy shoots the basketball. A little bit of an unconventional jump shot in that he shoots it on the way up, but because he is such a great athlete, he's going to fit in very well with Coach Cal and his program here.
And I've heard a lot about his vision on the court as well, his ability to see the open man and get the ball to him.
Yeah, you've seen in these highlights that teams pay close attention to him, but he is very good and very crafty at figuring out how to get guys shots.
Crafty is what we love.
Yep.
Well, meanwhile, Coach Cal is not holding back about recent comments surrounding the NBA draft. Cal was asked about a statement from Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski, who said he believes the NBA will expand its number of draft rounds to allow for a demand for the G League players. As usual, Cal did not hold back in his reaction.
If anybody supports more rounds in the draft, those more rounds are to get kids to go to the G League. You do not care about college basketball, or you're trying to ruin college basketball. If you want more draft positions, those kids aren't going to play in the NBA. They're being drafted to play in the G League. My point is, if they're in the G League, after 2 years they don't perform, what? The NBA is going to take care of them and hire them, and no, that's an entertainment, or you're done.
The NBA had a 2-round draft format since 1990, and there's been a developmental league since 2001, but the stakes have been raised a bit with the introduction of select contracts meant for elite prospects who are eligible to play in the G League, but not yet eligible for the NBA. Jack, you know all of this league stuff. What do you make of it?
You know, I agree with Coach Cal, and I haven't quite figured out what the NBA is trying to accomplish by doing this. I mean, it makes college basketball a whole lot worse, but it also makes the NBA worse because these guys are not ready to play.
They get stuck in
Yeah,
limbo.
you can play in the G League and make $125,000, but for a couple of years, but that's just not the way it should be done. College, in my mind, should be that training ground to get guys into the NBA. I hope it doesn't happen. I like the NBA system the way it is now.
I agree. Well, let's stay with college sports. A Kentucky congressman is pushing for a national version of the Fair Pay to Play legislation that has made headlines in California. Louisville's John Yarmouth is a co-sponsor of the Student Athlete Equity Act that would stop the NCAA from prohibiting college athletes from profiting off their name, image, and likeness. A group of lawmakers joined former presidential candidate Mitt Romney and ESPN's Jay Billis at a roundtable on the subject this week.
I believe in sports and the power of sports. I also believe in college sports, and I believe in education. But I also believe in money. And education and money are not mutually exclusive.
Congressman Yarmouth also sent out a tweet criticizing the NCAA this week. Meanwhile, lawmakers in Kentucky and other states have also been working on fair pay to play bills. Jack, what is your take?
Well, I love it because, we just talked about the NBA drafting these guys who are not ready to play just to put them into the G League. Well, one way of keeping them in college is to reward them in some form or fashion. I don't know what the number is. I don't know that it's 125,000, but for guys who are on the bubble, who may eventually be good enough, that might be the incentive to keep them in college. So I'm all for trying to figure out a way to reward these guys and to pay these guys and to spread the wealth a little bit. Coaches making big-time money, TV making big-time money, NCAA making big-time money. So this is a way to keep guys in school a little bit longer, I think, by figuring out a way to pay them some.
I love your take on that. Well, let's turn to politics now. Andy Brashear's push to legalize casino gambling in the state is facing strong resistance from two top Republicans. The Democratic candidate for governor says Kentucky could see as much as $500 million a year in revenue by allowing expanded gambling. Brashear says that money could be used to support the public pension system, but Senate President Robert Stivers and Majority Floor Leader Damon Thayer said yesterday that the proposal would be, quote, dead on arrival. Republicans hold the majority in the state Senate and say revenue estimates from casino gambling are overstated. But Brashear's campaign maintains that he would strive for bipartisan legalization to get this done. Jack, what do you think about this war of words just before the November 5th election?
Well, I think, number one, Brashear has to get into that governor's seat first. I mean, that might give him a little more pull, and he might be able to work something like this. But as long as the Senate is controlled by the Republicans, it is not going to get done. I don't care who's in that seat in the governor's office. It's not going to get done. So this is not the first time it's come up, and it certainly won't be the last, but a lot of work to go before it happens.
Absolutely. Sure. Well, in other news, a public meeting has been held about a proposed resort at the Red River Gorge. The Economic Development Group stresses this is extremely early in the process, but says a gateway to eastern Kentucky could lead to growth across the region. Dozens of businesses and property owners, people who live there, and hiking enthusiasts packed the Woodland Center in Natural Bridge State Park yesterday for the meeting. The Red River Economic Development Group is a nonprofit arm of the Kentucky Chamber Foundation, and the Chamber's president answered questions about the project. Some concerns raised included the impact of the environment, archaeology, traffic, and the local businesses that have sprung up around the gorge. From gas stations and restaurants to hiking shops and boutiques, here's what one cabin owner and the judge executive had to say.
I don't want to see it turn into Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. And, so that is a concern.
The integrity of our gorge and our culture is very much at stake. So anything that would conflict or wreck those things that do attract people and make our area attractive have got to be considered throughout this process.
Absolutely. Well, the chamber president says the vision of the resort is between 150 to 175 rooms on 900 acres. With a big meeting and event space, he stresses it will not be touristy or flashy like Gatlinburg. Jack, what do you make of this decision?
Well, I don't want to do anything to mess up the beauty
I'm with you.
of that area. I mean, it's so nice there. It's so wonderful to get away and to camp and to hike and do all those things. On the other hand, I am pro-business. I think Kentucky doesn't have a site destination. Our location makes it such that within a day's drive, you can be right in central Kentucky. I would love to see it happen, but it has to be done correctly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Well, now on Hey Kentucky, in case you missed it, a review of recent headlines. Governor Bevin has announced a plan to lease a new state-run private prison in Floyd County to address overcrowding in county jails. The facility will also bring nearly 200 new jobs to eastern Kentucky. Meanwhile, Toyota says it plans to put more Americans to work in the Bluegrass State. The automaker is looking to hire 400 people at its Georgetown plant. Up next on Hey Kentucky, we turn to the topic of UK's football matchup with Georgia tomorrow. Drew Franklin brings us another edition of Drew's 5 Friday Football Facts when we return.